Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. This is our weekly review show, and we're once again joined by Kernan, who's coming on to talk about Armagh's win at the weekend. Fantastic win against Roscommon that sees them keep their Division 1 place for at least another year anyway. Aaron, I'm sure you're delighted with how Armagh performed. Not only the result, but the performance was brilliant as well after the first water break, and we'll get into the ins and outs of the performance. But how important is it for Armagh to stay in Division 1? They've got it now. How important is it to stay there and build now for the development of the team over the next few years?
It's absolutely massive. Can't be underestimated, to be honest with you. Like, it was the whole, I suppose, talk over the past few weeks in the lead up to it has been, how important it would be for the county to retain Division 1 status. The boys have done that there, and to be honest with you, I think they've done it fairly convincingly. I know we ended up in a so-called relegation playoff, but the performances and the consistency that we've put week in week, and the improvement that you could see in the team week on week has been absolutely brilliant. And I think anyone who's been out and about this morning, I was at work around town in Crossmaglen and over in Uri, and you have people starting to stop you in the street again. Have you seen the game? What do you think? We're going in the right direction. So it's just created a buzz among everyone, which is absolutely brilliant. And it's where these boys want to be challenging themselves. It's the top of the tree in terms of your inter-county football, and it's where I suppose you'll be challenged the most. But that's, you want to be an inter-county footballer, that's what you want. So it's very exciting. It's exciting for us as supporters. But I'd say hopefully we have a lot of boys who woke up this morning who had sore heads and maybe just went out and enjoyed themselves last night because they're entitled to it, because it was a tough month for them, and they'll really focus on championship. But in terms of everyone, it's given us all a great lift.
And how important was it to get a win? Obviously, they needed to win the game to avoid relegation, but like the last couple of weeks, we were talking about the good performances against Tyrone and against Donegal, but they didn't win those games. Was it important to get a win against Roscommon, who are a regular Division 1 team? I know they're a bit of a yo-yo team up and down the last few years, but they have got that competitive nature. They've been Connacht champions twice in the last 5 years, I think. They have that experience of Division 1. So beating a Division 1 team is so important as well as performing well.
Absolutely, and we did both for that matter. And yeah, like, I've heard some people saying, Roscommon, didn't offer a whole pile in attack. That's not Armagh's fault. Like, the same Roscommon players that caused us no end of trouble in the National League last year and rained goals in us, they were playing the other day. But for me, it's I suppose a sign of how much this Armagh group have progressed over this past 6 months, that they completely nullified all their big players. That was, I suppose, a collective effort from our full forward line back. But it is a massive plus. Regardless of anything, Roscommon gone up and down through the divisions. Like, I heard that all right in Sunday game last night. But Connacht's a very competitive championship, and they've won 2 Connacht titles in this past number of years. And that's a level that we haven't been at. We haven't reached the Ulster final for so long. But for us to start slow yesterday, but then to literally take over all across the field, like, I suppose if we're being completely honest, like, it's a long time we've seen an Armagh performance so commanding in a game that really, really mattered. So for me, that's one of definitely the most pleasing aspects of yesterday's game, that with so much riding on it, the start was a wee bit cagey, a wee bit nervous. That's to be expected, obviously, given what was at stake. But from the first water break onwards, I have to say, just all across the field, we controlled the whole game, played at our own tempo, picked off some unbelievable scores, very controlled and composed later on in the game to see out a win. So in terms of positives, to be honest, I didn't see too many negatives come out of it. To keep them to only 11 points, to give away no goals again, and to score 117. All really, really positive aspects of the game that I've no doubt management will be very, very pleased with.
I suppose one negative from the game, if you were looking for one, you'd be pushed hard to give a negative, but I suppose if you were looking for one, was the slow start, Aaron. And you touched on it there. Was it just nerves going in like such a massive game for Armagh? For some people, this was maybe bigger than a championship game that they had to keep their Division 1 status. They had to win this game. Was it just nerves was at fault for that slow start, or what did you put that down to?
I would say it probably was, because like me mentioned in the podcast 2 weeks ago, like I don't really, I care about championship now today, but until yesterday afternoon, I didn't, because to me, this was the big thing that I felt that if the county was going to really develop, you need to be consistently in Division 1. And I seen Geezer said it after the game, and it's something they wouldn't have been saying maybe a huge while publicly up until yesterday. But it's massive. You know, you're playing against the best teams week in, week out. You're challenging yourself. But more importantly, what you're doing is whenever you get the performances that Armagh have got this past few weeks, the self-belief within the players, they start to realise, you know, Jesus, I'm fit for this level. I belong at this level, or I want more of it at this level. And it goes through the roof. And I think that's what you've seen with the team over this past 4 weeks. You've seen improvements everywhere. But to go back to it, yes, I have no problem. Like, you do be nervous and you do be a bit cagey early on in a game, but that's not ideal. Maybe if you're coming up against maybe your Dublins or your Kerrys, we'll deal with them next year. But they've seen it through. You know, they didn't panic. Like at 5-1, you're thinking, geez, we're under a bit of pressure here again. But we seen it out. Like, it was the same against Donegal. Like, we started poor enough against Donegal, and we come back strong, and we're very good for the remainder of the game. So yes, it is something that I suppose they can maybe put a bit more focus on. But for me, it's one of those things that happens, you know, with the best will in the world. You're well prepared and all that there, but you know, sometimes you do think about the end goal a wee bit too much, you know, in terms of what was at stake in the game, and that might have slowed us up the first 10 minutes or made us take the wrong decisions. But from 12 minutes onwards, they were in full flow and full control, and that's massively encouraging.
And that all started after the water break, Aaron. I'm not sure if anybody, whoever was at the game or watching it in tally, but you could see Armagh after the water break. It was a Roscommon kick out, had to start the second quarter, and Armagh really pushed up. There was a full court press on, similar to the one Kerry done against Dublin in the 2019 All-Ireland final. Everybody pushed up, pressed hard on the kick out. Now Grimley won the kick out. Armagh got a score from it and went on to score 1-5 or 1-6 then in the next 15 minutes. Like, that was a massive turning point, a massive momentum swing that Armagh won that kick out, and really that kick started the win. Yeah,
huge fetch from Nail, but I suppose, well, you can say it's brave or it's not brave, but to push everything up and really go for it just shows intent, you know, and that was, I suppose, it was one part of the water break coming in a Roscommon kick out that, you know, we were camped inside their half, like they literally could not get the ball out. But you see a terrific fetch from Nail, and from memory, I think he carries it a bit, gives it the rein coming in off the stand side and puts it over the bar. And he said at that stage, because we already had the full court press on and we had everyone still up ahead of the ball, it meant that we were set again for Lavin's next kicker. And that was brilliant to see, because I think at that stage then it sensed the way sensed a bit of blood, and they really went after him. And I suppose they showed a ruthless streak at that stage that was really needed. That it clawed back a 5-point lead, but we even pushed on and went further. And I think it just was enhanced even more whenever you seen the pressure that was put on as they were coming out of the right or the left corner back position. Rory gets a hand to get the turnover. Couple of slick hand passes, and then we had Oshin tapping the ball in at the back post, showing a bit of composure. So again, that was intent. That was us going after them. And you know, I suppose we spoke about it over this past few weeks, that to not only compete but to start beating the top teams, goals are absolutely massive. And I think that gave us a huge lift at that stage. Psychologically, obviously in the scoreboard it gave us a lift, but psychologically, it gave the team a huge lift all across the field. And like I said, there was no coming back at that stage for Roscommon, as far as I was concerned.
And that ruthless streak that you talk about, Aaron, that's probably something Armagh have been missing for maybe, I don't know, the last 10 years or so, that when they do get on top, when they have their purple patch, they probably don't score enough. While on the other hand, we've seen like the likes of Donegal last year in the Ulster semi-final. Once they got on top, they hit 1-5 and the game was over. Armagh have probably been criticised that for all their firepower that they now have, maybe they're not ruthless enough, but they did show that yesterday.
They did. Like, you could have no complaints from our perspective in relation to that there, because you had everyone involved in those, you know, whether it was the boys who were tapping the ball over the bar, or it was whoever was hunting and getting the turnovers. You had Jamar chipped in with 3 points from play. It was Groogs that got the turnover. Oisin, Ray, and Andrew all chipping in with scores as well. So they were coming from everywhere. But I said the platform was being set in defence, where I suppose just the collective hunger and desire was probably even better than what we had displayed against Donegal. And that was just giving the boys up front so much possession to work with, and obviously caused the maximum damage to Roscommon, which was brilliant to see.
And defensively, Aaron, I suppose we have spoke about that Armagh do get men behind the ball, 12, 13, 14, 15 men at times, but they were still leaking goals, and we talked about Langan's goal down the middle and Peter Hart's down the middle. But yesterday, Armagh defended brilliantly, and Roscommon never looked like getting a goal. They never got in for a chance, and they never looked like getting in for a chance. And that was without regulars like Ryan Kennedy and James Morgan, who did come on when the game was probably finished by that stage by the time they come on. And Falker started. I don't think Falker looked 100% fit. So it was sort of the likes of Mackin, Aaron McKay, Ross Finn was very good in the corner. Like the boys that maybe you would have question marks over, or your non-experienced boys, they stood up yesterday and didn't give any goal chances or anything to Roscommon.
Yeah, well, I think the one thing those boys, in fairness, they're genuinely all lacking is just experience at that level. But in terms of just tenacity and desire, I don't think we could ever fault any of them for that. But again, just to go back to another point, I think this past month, what it has done is the self-belief in those boys, that has brought them on a huge amount. And you know, I suppose the good thing about a rush league is, or I just always genuinely found myself, whenever your normal national league, you might have about 3 weekends in a row, you would have a game before you have a break. You can't get enough of it, you know. That's, as players, that's what you want. Games coming thick and fast, because if you make a mistake, it's so fresh in your memory. You'll obviously do a bit of video analysis, but just in yourself, you can see that picture in your own head of the mistake you made. You've only 6-7 days for another turnaround, and your top players or your inter-county players won't or shouldn't be making the same mistake again. And I think that's been a huge plus for the Armagh team. Defensively, in individual situations, we've done really well. Like at that level, like you're coming up against the best players all across the country. Like to think you're going to go out and stop a man, rip a ball off him, and set up and attack every time, it just doesn't work like that. It's not that simple. But getting ourselves in the right position, having good footwork, being physical, slowing them up, and waiting for a bit of help to come. That's what Armagh have been really good at. You know, whenever we're getting isolated in one-on-one situations, it's not, you know, your last-ditch super defending, which sometimes we have done it, but it's been the ability to slow up whoever the attacker is and in possession and the opposition team enough that we get men back, that we're not leaving space for pop balls over the top for men running through. You know, we're suppose we're trying to stifle as much as possible the opposition, so that we can push them back out the field and put them into a slow, ponderous game. And then that's when Armagh become really good, because that's whenever they get the opportunity to counter-attack and break in numbers. And that, again, is something that they've been really effective in the league. So, like I said, as a collective everywhere, I think, you know, the work rate all across the field has been brilliant. I genuinely feel, though, that there is still room for improvement, and most importantly, I think there's room for improvement even in our attacking game, because I think we all know, and we've now seen the quality that we have in individuals going forward. But I think as a collective, they've got better over the 4 weeks, and I think a huge positive for the county is I think there's more in them.
And I suppose when you're talking about the attack, we have talked so many times in the podcast about the attack and how good it is and the firepower. And we never mentioned Andrew Kernan, who only come on against Donegal for the last couple of minutes, but started yesterday, got 2 points. Probably should have had another one. He missed a mark early in the game. He's an option, and he's a different type of forward that everybody else is workers and can come out the middle. Oisín O'Neill and Rain comes out. Rory's a good worker. Soupy was driving from deep yesterday. Kernan gives you that option of a route one ball in the edge of the square, and of course he can come out and play midfield or centre half forward, but his preferred position is that full forward, and it does give Armagh a different option, and it's another string to their bow basically in that attack.
Yeah, like that's a huge plus yesterday, was to see Andrew back and he gets 40 minutes in him. I think we all know from his minor days the quality and potential that he has, and the poor lad has just been hounded by injuries, and he's never got a proper run of it. But he's entitled to his fair share of luck at this stage, and hopefully he gets it over the next 6 to 8 weeks, because just like you say, he offers, while Oisín, Ray and Soupy they're big and they're strong, Andrew's just a totally different proposition to be dealing with, because his hands are unbelievable. Put any ball into him and it'll stick. You will do well to find someone who can secure first time possession as well as him in any team across the country. So with the attacking mark now in play, that is something that we can really play into. Where if you have the likes of your Oisín, Ray and Soupy and those boys able to put long direct ball into him, in terms of, so taking the mark that time didn't nearly suit him, because he ends up being a free taker, and obviously that wouldn't be his game. Where I think the more football he'll get, he'll play on instinct and he'll take his man on, tap it over the bar, or again, like I said, boys will start coming running off him. So in terms of forward options, that's brilliant to have him back. And if he's not fit for 70 minutes, if you can get him to build up those 41 minutes, whatever you know, if we can build him up to 50, 55 minutes, and then maybe you have a different type of player coming on in terms of maybe your Conor Turbotts or whatever, who's going to run the legs off some fella. It's just a different dimension, but again, it's another big plus to have.
And another man that we haven't been talking about, Aaron, that got his first game time since probably before lockdown, was Kieran Donaghy. Come on with maybe 10 minutes to go yesterday, and it was good to see Donaghy back, because he has been such a strong player for Armagh for over 10 years now, 15 years maybe, and it was good to see him getting back into the fold. And maybe I don't know if he was injured last year or what the story was, but he's back in now and he's back in contention for one of the back six places.
Yeah, I suppose that was maybe Geezer showing his bit of experience then, in terms of just bringing him on just to make sure that everything was safe and secure at the back. Brandy has really, I suppose, specialised in that sort of sweeper position, or playing as a holding centre half back. So no better time to have someone with the quality on the ball, but the experience to snuff out any sort of danger. So again, it's another plus. How much game time he's going to get, I'm not sure, because obviously competition for places is so difficult to hold down a regular spot in there at the minute. But horses for courses, whenever he may be needed, it was great to see him getting back in and getting a few minutes under his belt. Obviously the hunger within him is still huge for him to keep coming back year after year. And I suppose his presence, if nothing else, it just would have been it's very reassuring if you're an inexperienced player in a high pressure situation like that, where, like I said, there's a huge amount riding on it. It was great to see him back in, and you were fairly sure at that stage that there was going to be nothing out of the ordinary that was going to put us in a sweat for the last 10 minutes.
And I suppose tactically, Aaron, something we spoke about the last day was the Armagh kickouts, and how Donegal penned Armagh in for that last 10 minutes, and Armagh just couldn't get a kick out, and you would feel if they had got one or two, they could have seen the game out and got over the line. But it was interesting the other day, they were going short on their kickouts. I suppose Roscommon would have a big midfield with Tao O'Rourke and Enda Smith and the likes of Niall Kilroy in there as well in the half forward line. what's your feelings on the short kickouts? Because Armagh would be fairly strong, or they would feel they would be fairly strong around the middle with, there's plenty of big men there. The two O'Neills can come out, Grimley, Kieran Kelly was there the other day as well. Did you prefer the short kickouts because secured possession and you can get attacking straight away, or would you rather the long kickouts, where you get it further up the field?
It would be the old traditionalist in me where I'd still always rather get it as far away from our goal as possible. But to be honest with you, like Blaine's very good at a quick one and a short one. So if we are under serious pressure and he has the opportunity to get that to one of our boys, where we can work the ball up the field, I'll take it all day long. I'll take anything other than allowing Donegal to get the run on us the way they did at the end of the last game. But I suppose it was after the conversation that we had, and I look back over the game again just to see if there was anything that could be improved on. But going long, the very last score when Niall O'Donnell got the point against us, what we had at that stage was we actually had numbers around the ball, but we were gambling on breaking forward. We had three men at the foot of Niall Grimley. I think it was Niall who was competing for the ball. But they were just thinking about getting forward, where at that stage, all we needed to do was get possession. They went to the opposite side of where the break was. They went on the attacking side, and that's where Donegal got the three players getting the run on us. So I'm fairly certain that will have been addressed and rectified. So in terms of going route one, we have the men, as you said, that can compete and win the ball in the air. But if they don't, those 3 or 4 men that are coming in at the foot of him, they have to forget about gambling, forget about trying to get up the field to get the score. They just need to be in a position where they can win that break ball, and then we can see what we want to do. But if you don't have the ball, you're just chasing. But both of them are, like I said, they're viable options for us. I'll take either of them as long as we're in possession of the ball.
And we talk about the two O'Neills all the time, Aaron, and anybody that watched League Sunday the other night would see Potts Blum. We don't normally listen to Potts rambling sometimes. He doesn't always have nice things to say about Armagh and Ulster football, but he compared Rian and Oisin O'Neill to the two Cliffords, David and Paddy from Kerry, obviously. And while they're still young and you don't want to be blowing their heads up too much, everybody in Armagh has seen what they can do at club and county level now. They're in Division 1 and showcasing it. Like Oisin O'Neill and Rian O'Neill have really showed that they're fit for this level, and in the next couple of years they'll hopefully push on and really show what they're made of.
Yeah, I suppose having been fortunate enough to see them coming through from underage, it's definitely coming as no surprise to me. The live and breathe Gaelic football, and it's the be all and end all for them. But I'm, I suppose personally as a club teammate and someone who knows them and knows how much they put into it, I'm delighted for them to see them getting the opportunity to play and perform so well at that level. It's a massive boost for the county to have boys of that caliber. But I suppose you throw in the likes of your Murnans and your Soupies and your Niall Grimleys and these boys, and the potential is there in them all. That they have the ability to play and to win and be extremely competitive at this level. And I think what this past month will have done, if nothing else, it'll have just put a huge desire within them all to suppose a bit of self-improvement in them, to push the boundaries and what they're doing, to make sure that they stay there. But I think the bigger picture of it all is, with them doing that, with them competing at that level, it's the influence that they're having in the next generation coming behind them, the support that are starting to grow and follow them, the next generation to be able to follow the likes of your Oisin, Ray and Soupy and these boys. So they're the people who put bums in seats. They're the ones who inspire young people to want to pick up footballs and to want to go out into the backyard or their own pitch to practice the skills, to ping over points. So to have people of that caliber within our own county and performing at the top level, it's as good as we've had it for a long time. And like I said, I genuinely feel that as a group, there's more in them.
And looking forward, Aaron, we don't want to start previewing the championship. It's 3 weeks away yet, so it's too early. But keeping Division 1 status, keeping that momentum going that we've built up over the first 3 games against the Ulster opposition, then getting one over Roscommon, who've been a tough team, a tough nut for Armagh to crack the last couple of meetings. That's carrying big momentum into the championship, and I know Antrim are going to carry their own momentum. They got promoted as well, and 4 games unbeaten in Division 4. But what does this mean going into the championship? If you were in that squad at the minute, how confident are you? How much belief do you have now going into the championship that Armagh can really push on? Because I suppose that's the next step, isn't it, Aaron? That they've secured Division 1, now they have to do something in the championship.
Yeah, like whenever we got promotion last year, I mentioned at the start of this chat here, the be all and end all for me, as far as I was concerned, was retain Division 1 status. You know, that has been done and done really well at this stage. But now focus is absolutely in championship. And like, if I'm being totally honest, before the championship started, did I see Armagh as been genuine Ulster contenders, you know, showing the consistency levels to be able to do that? And honestly, no, I didn't. It's a slightly different story now at this stage, you know, you say, without getting too carried away, but what I've seen of the performances against Donegal and Tyrone and Monaghan, who everyone would have perceived as being the top 3, and we'd be coming in at the next level after that there. I would like to think that, I know for certain that the capabilities of us getting back to an Ulster final is absolutely in that group, and that will be their goal and their focus. Like, it's hard to believe at this stage, but every county in Ulster has been in an Ulster final since we've last been in one. And whenever you consider where we were as a county from 99 until 08, winning 7 Ulster finals, not losing any, for us not to be there, you know, it's been a long period of time. We said guaranteed the whole thing will be, our only focus is on Antrim and that, and rightly so. But for us as supporters who can take a step back, and we're not involved in the group, and you can dream all you want to dream, there's the capabilities and the potential for this group to start getting back to our Ulster finals, to winning them. But I suppose the first focus really, they'll be putting it all on Antrim. And you say Antrim, yes, they have momentum. They've won their 4 games, but in my opinion, they've been doing that at Division 4 level. Everybody's after doing it now at Division 1, and there's a huge difference there. I'd like to see us taking massive belief from what we are capable of doing at Division 1, carrying it in totally focusing on Antrim, giving them the utmost respect, doing maximum homework and where their strengths are and who we need to man mark, learning all of that there, but full belief and full focus then goes on what Armagh is going to do, where we're going to perform, what pace we're going to play at. And for me, I can't see, you know, it'll be competitive for a while. But I just think the standard and the consistency that we've played at over this past month, it's a long time since we've done that, to be honest with you, at this level. And that's hugely encouraging for the boys leading in over the next month. The one thing that's what you need to completely blot out is for them is looking too far ahead or complacency setting in. You know, I suppose it's an old saying and a born saying of a controlling the controllables. Keep doing what we have been doing. Stay as focused as we have been staying on ourselves, and doing the homework in terms of your management and what, you know, they see as strengths and weaknesses of opposition, but everybody's just keep performing, keep preparing the way they are, and let the rest of us dream and get excited about the summer ahead.
Hopefully there's a big summer ahead now, and definitely big Ulster Championship ahead. I think that game takes place in 3 weeks' time in the Athletic Grounds, Armagh against Antrim, obviously, and we'll be covering that when the time comes. Aaron, thanks very much for coming on and talking us through Armagh's win on Sunday. And we had an exclusive interview with Armagh forwards coach Kieran Donaghy, and we'll hear all Kieran's thoughts now from the game. So thanks again, Aaron.
Not a problem, John. Anytime.
So I'm delighted to be joined by Kieran Donaghy, Armagh's coach this year. Kieran, I suppose to start off, great result, great game, and a great win.
Yeah, no, it was 100%. I think, you know, the boys, you know, it was a fairly strong ambition of ours to stay in Division 1. It was going to be a hard task, to be honest with you, because we had 3.5 weeks to get the boys ready for 3 intense games against high quality opposition, but they did really well in those matches. And a kick of a ball here or there could have had us, possibly winning all 3. So look, for us, there's a lot of improvements to go on to. But today it was just about getting the result and getting the win. It had a feel of a championship game all week. I think we started a bit jittery, but I think once that was put aside, I think the boys really came into their own from the second quarter on.
And was it disappointing not getting into the semi-finals? Because I heard just there at half time that Armagh were the only team that finished on 3 points and didn't make the semi-finals.
Yeah, it was. It was disappointing. We wanted to go have a crack off of the likes of Kerry or Dublin just to play another a game against high quality opposition. But Roscommon have been that they're kind of champions over the last number of years. They're a lot of really good forwards, big players in the middle of the field. Linda Smith, who was probably a big loss for them in that second half today, and probably an area where we dominated after he went off. So look, obviously for us, it's just about, as I said, it was about just getting that result, and that was the most important thing. That's all we could control today. We couldn't control if we were playing Kerry or Dublin, but the fixture was key for us, and that was so important for us to get the win.
And unlike the other games, Armagh had a poor start today. It was 5-2 at the first water break, and then Armagh come out. I think it was 1-5 without replay, and that was basically the winning of the game.
It was, yeah. Second quarter was huge. We got a few breaking ball around the middle. We forced them long, got a few breaks, and the boys were unselfish up front and got good shot selection going. And there's still loads for us to improve on. We're going to be dissecting the game as if we lost the game, because that's the only way to dissect it. And refocus the boys in for Tuesday night, and then go hard for the next 3 weeks and prepare for a tough task in taking on Antrim, who won 4 games in a row, full of confidence coming here. So, but look, that crowd were big today when we got that bit of momentum. I think when Oisín got the goal, it was great to have that feel of it felt like championship. There might have been 40,000 inside here. It was the way it felt, because you could see how passionate the crowd were, how long they've been waiting to show this team some support and some love for the journey that this team have been on under Kieran, getting up through the divisions, Division 3, Division 2, Division 1. It's been a hard road, and they're coming into their own now, and that'll give them good confidence. But don't worry, we'll bring them back down to ground on Tuesday evening, and because we know it's going to be a tough task to try and go and have a run in Ulster.
And I suppose the Antrim game, this is huge for the championship. You're carrying this momentum in, but Antrim are also carrying momentum in from Division 4, getting promotion from Division 4. It's going to be a challenge, Kieran, but one they're looking forward to, I'm sure.
Just looking forward to the home draw. The home draw was a big one. Obviously, getting that home fixture and getting the boys in here for training over the next 3 weeks, get them familiar with the place. A bit more, did a bit of work on the pitch. It was looking fantastic today, so we weren't in there last week, but you'll be hoping for a good 3 weeks of training in here now and getting ready for, as I said, a tough test coming down the road. And
finally, Kieran, you're in as the forwards coach, obviously. You must be delighted with the score. Armagh putting up, they've scored 116 in 2 games, 210 against Tyrone and 117 then again today.
Yeah, but we're focused in all parts, I think the boys would be strong on opinions on the offensive side of it, and I would be strong on my opinions on the defensive side of the ball. So it's very much a team effort between myself and the 4 Kierans, and obviously Dennis Hollywood, who's the gel that holds us all together. And then the background team is what I've been so impressed with since I came up here. Hugh Campbell, the work he does in the background with the players is immense. Julie Davis and the work she has and the shape she has and how sharp she is with how long his left hand fella is and this fella has to come off, and she's really good with all that. So look, there's a wonderful team here, and I'm just enjoying being a very small part and trying to help the boys with possibly bits of experience that I would have, and trying to give them some insights. But they've gotten here very much by the squad by themselves, and I think me and Kieran McKeever are just trying to bring little bits and energy into the group, and we're really focused on a performance now in 3 weeks. We're already sitting inside there talking about 3 weeks time, so and that's where we'll have the players' minds on Tuesday as well.
That's great, Kieran. Thanks for coming on. Best luck with the rest of the year.
Keep up the good work.